You did not find this video. This video found you. And I know that sounds like something people say. But stay with me for a moment before you decide what to do with it. Because the specific moment you are in right now, the questions that have been surfacing, the sense that something about your reality is shifting and you cannot fully name what, that is not coincidence. The field does not deliver this kind of information randomly. It delivers it at the exact moment a consciousness is ready to receive it. Not before, not after. You are here because something in you already knew that what you have been living inside is only one layer of what is actually happening. And today we are going to look at what the other layers are. Not as theory, not as possibility, as the actual structure of reality that quantum physics, followed honestly all the way to its conclusion, describes with mathematical precision. Multiple realities are not a metaphor. They are not a spiritual concept borrowed loosely from science to make people feel better about the paths they did not take. They are the direct, unavoidable implication of the most tested framework in the history of human knowledge. And they are overlapping right now. In this moment, inside the very experience you are having as you hear these words. That is not a dramatic opening. That is what the physics says. So let us go into it. Before observation, the quantum field does not hold a single definite state. It holds all possible states simultaneously. Every position a particle could occupy, every direction it could be moving, every outcome it could produce, all of them present, all of them real, all of them part of what the field actually is at that moment. When observation happens, something specific occurs. One possibility becomes the concrete outcome the observer registers. And the question that changed everything, the question that split physicists into camps that still argue today, is this: where do the other possibilities go? The answer most people learn is that they vanish, that the act of observation destroys every outcome except the one that was chosen. That reality narrows to a single branch and the rest disappear. But here is what most people are never told about that answer. It was never demonstrated. No one has ever shown the mechanism by which possibilities are destroyed at the moment of measurement. The equation that governs how quantum systems evolve does not contain that mechanism. It is continuous. It is smooth. It describes all possibilities continuing to evolve simultaneously without any term for the destruction of the ones not observed. The disappearance of unchosen possibilities was assumed because it matched our experience of living inside one reality, not because the mathematics required it. And when physicists stopped making that assumption, when they followed the equation without adding something the equation never asked for, what they found is that at the moment of observation, both realities continue. The one where the observer sees outcome A and the one where the observer sees outcome B. They separate. They stop being able to interfere with each other. They each experience themselves as the only real one. But they are both there. They both continue. They both evolve forward from that moment. I find this one of the most honest things physics has ever produced. Not because it adds something extraordinary, because it stops removing something that was always there. What most people miss when they hear about parallel realities is that overlap is not a poetic description of worlds that exist somewhere else. Sealed off, inaccessible, theoretical. Overlap is a precise physical term for what happens when quantum systems that have not yet fully separated continue to influence each other across their branching possibilities. And decoherence, the process by which realities separate into their own distinct experiences, is not instant. It is not a wall. It is a gradient. A gradual process by which a quantum system becomes more and more entangled with its environment until the branches are no longer able to interfere with each other. At the scale of a single particle, this happens so fast it appears instantaneous. At the scale of a decision, at the scale of a threshold, at the scale of the moment where two genuine possibilities are both fully present and neither has yet resolved into the one that will be lived. The process is slower than we assume. The boundaries between overlapping realities at those moments are softer than the rest of your experience suggests. This means that the moments in your life that feel genuinely suspended, where both paths feel equally real, where you cannot yet sense which one you are moving toward, those are not moments of confusion or weakness or lack of clarity. They are moments of genuine superposition at the scale of lived experience. Both realities present. Both real. The overlap, not as sensation, but as physics. And what you bring to that moment participates in how it resolves. The quality of your awareness, the direction of your attention, the depth with which you are actually present to what the field is showing you right now, rather than to the noise of what you think should happen next. Write in the comments, which version of your life feels most alive in you right now, not the one you are living, the one that is pressing. Just one sentence, because I want to see how many people in this video can feel the overlap clearly enough to name it. This is the question I sat with for a long time before it resolved into something I could actually use. If multiple realities are overlapping right now, why does the world feel singular? Why does everything appear to be one coherent stream, rather than a field of competing possibilities pressing against each other? The answer is that your nervous system was shaped to suppress exactly that awareness, not as a flaw, as a survival mechanism. The filter that creates the experience of a single stable reality is extraordinarily efficient. Without it, the raw field of overlapping possibilities would be overwhelming. Navigating a coherent life inside a superposition you could fully feel would be, in ordinary waking consciousness, impossible. So the nervous system learned to treat the foreground as everything, to register one branch as real and push everything else into the background, to build a stable, survivable, navigable experience of the world by filtering out the field beneath it. But the filtered information does not disappear. It is encoded in the correlations between your consciousness and the field it emerged from. It is in the background your nervous system learned to treat as noise, and certain states make that background briefly audible, not as hallucination, not as confusion, as a wider register of what the field is actually holding in this moment. Deep stillness does this. Genuine creative absorption does this. The moments just before sleep and just after waking do this. Grief, in its strange way, does this. What they share is a temporary loosening of the nervous system's commitment to treating the foreground as the whole story. That is not a spiritual claim. That is a description of what happens when the filter relaxes, when the field becomes slightly more transparent to itself through a consciousness that is, for a moment, not insisting on the singular. Here is where this stops being philosophy and starts being something you can recognize in your own experience. The other branches of reality that emerged from every decision point in your life are not elsewhere. They did not stop existing when you took the path you took. They evolved from the same superposition you emerged from, and while they have decohered enough to be experienced as separate, decoherence is not the same as disappearance. The field is still one field, and the influence of overlapping realities on your current experience shows up in specific ways that most people have never had a framework to recognize for what they are. The pull toward something that does not yet exist in your life in concrete form, not as wanting. Wanting comes from lack, but as recognition, a sense that something is already real at a level of the field that has not yet become real at the level of experience. That is the overlap. The branch where that version of your life is already unfolding, pressing against the boundary of the one you are currently in. The inexplicable resistance to paths that seem logical from the outside, the sense that a decision that makes complete rational sense is somehow wrong in a way you cannot justify. That is also the overlap. The field showing you, through the nervous system's background awareness, that the branch those paths lead toward has already resolved in ways that the foreground version of you cannot yet see. The recurring sense that a specific kind of life is possible for you, not as ambition, but as something almost like memory, a recognition of something you have not yet lived, but that feels familiar. That is not imagination. That is consciousness sensitive enough to feel what is real in potential before it is real in experience. You have been feeling the overlap for a long time. You just did not have a name for what you were feeling. Now, let's go to the highlighted comment of the day. I am on the threshold consciously. I am watching myself's transition. My assumption is the new self is I am. I am experiencing recognition and awareness of what I am. Quantum consciousness experiencing life in this vessel. Everything in this transmission is for me now. Watching myselves in the plural, you felt something most people miss entirely. The self in transition is not one thing becoming another. It is multiple versions of you becoming visible at the same time before one of them stabilizes. That is exactly the threshold. Stay conscious in it. What you are experiencing right now is the field recognizing itself through you. Thank you for sharing. There is a specific shift that happens when this stops being an interesting framework and becomes something you actually inhabit as true. Uncertainty stops being a problem and starts being information. Before this, uncertainty is the uncomfortable gap between where you are and where you need to be. Something to resolve as fast as possible, a state to escape, rather than a state to read. After this, uncertainty is the field in superposition. It is the moment where the overlap is most present and most legible. The state where your participation in which reality emerges is most significant, not because you force an outcome into existence, but because the quality of your awareness at that moment participates in how the field resolves, and the relationship you have with the version of your life that has not yet materialized changes completely. It stops being a fantasy dependent on the right circumstances arriving. It starts being a real branch of the field that is already overlapping with your current experience, already there, at the level of potential, already pressing, already influencing the present through the overlap in ways you have already been feeling without knowing what to call them. What brings it through is not effort in the sense of forcing. It is something more like coherence. becoming the kind of observer that is aligned enough with what is already real and potential, that the boundary between